Today, we're diving into a story that's going to totally flip how you think about success, innovation, and where those big business breakthroughs actually start. Most of us are kind of hardwired to think that life-changing opportunities are just going to rock up to our front door and announce themselves, right? We're all waiting for that grand entrance. But honestly, the truth is usually way quieter and a whole lot more mysterious. So let's just get right into it, because what we're unpacking today might literally change how you look at your everyday routine forever. So, where does opportunity hide? I know, it sounds like a simple question, but it totally challenges this deeply held assumption we all have. We tend to think opportunity looks like a fancy job offer, a massive investment, or some sudden light bulb moment of genius. But actually, sometimes it's hiding right in plain sight, inside the exact things that everyone else is completely ignoring. Like I said, most folks think opportunity knocks on the front door, that traditional, highly visible, normal path. But for a guy named Lucas, his big break was literally sitting in the trash bin. See, Lucas was a night janitor. His entire job was to clean the pristine, high-end offices of some seriously successful entrepreneurs. Night after night, he emptied hundreds of trash bins. And yeah, most of those bins held exactly what you'd expect, just plain old garbage. But Lucas had this really unique perspective. He started finding massive value in the very things everyone else was literally throwing away. Section 1. The Night Shift. This was Lucas's whole world. While the city slept, and while all those highly paid executives were cozy in their homes, Lucas was walking the quiet, empty halls of corporate power. Picture this. At 9 p.m., the office workers head out, and the building goes completely dead. By 9:15, his shift begins. He's vacuuming carpets, wiping down desks, collecting the trash. To the day shift, he was basically invisible. But right around midnight, something super fascinating happens. He starts studying their discarded ideas. Whenever he came across crumpled up papers with business sketches, diagrams, or brainstorming notes, he didn't just toss them in the dumpster. He actually sat down and studied them to reverse engineer how these successful people thought. Every single night, that trash bin became his own personal, free masterclass in business. Section 2. The Crumpled Page. So it was just this perfectly ordinary Tuesday night when Lucas spotted something seemingly worthless sitting right next to a bin. It wasn't some top-secret financial document or anything like that. It was literally just a crumpled-up piece of paper with a handwritten heading that said, "Problems people face every day." And man, that one little phrase, it triggered a massive realization for him. It hit him that successful businesses do not start with products. They start with problems. If you want to build something actually valuable, you don't start by inventing some crazy gadget in your garage. You start by finding a real pain point. Right below that heading were dozens of just incredibly simple observations. Things like people waste time waiting, people forget appointments, people struggle to stay organized, people pay for convenience. Notice how incredibly basic these are. Like, none of these are high-level tech breakthroughs, right? They're just fundamental human behaviors. But the secret is, people will happily open their wallets if you can give them their time back or just make their day a little bit smoother. Section 3. The Power of Observation. This realization absolutely sparked a profound behavioral change in Lucas. He stopped just going through the motions and started truly paying attention. He bought this cheap little notebook and started carrying it with him absolutely everywhere. Supermarkets, train stations, coffee shops, libraries, you name it. He basically became a detective of daily friction. Whenever he noticed a common frustration, boom, he wrote it down. Long lines, complicated forms, confusing instructions, broken routines. I mean, we've all been there, right? Have you ever stared at some overly complicated government form or stood in a horribly inefficient line at the grocery store and thought, come on, there has to be a better way? Well, Lucas was documenting exactly those moments. The biggest opportunities hide inside the smallest inconveniences. That right there was the core takeaway from his whole notebook exercise. We always kind of trick ourselves into thinking we need to solve massive global issues to be successful, but honestly, massive opportunities are routinely born from small, completely ignored frustrations that everyone else just accepts as the way things are. Section 4. The First Failure. Armed with this entirely new mindset, Lucas decided to actually take action. But hey, the real world is rarely a fairy tale, right? Knowing how to spot a problem is really only half the battle. So step 1, he spent months building this simple productivity tool based on one of those everyday problems he'd observed. Step 2, he launched it to absolute silence. Zero attention, basically no downloads. He was, understandably, pretty embarrassed. But here's the kicker. Remembering all those bins full of failed ideas he'd cleaned out, that kept him from quitting. He knew failure wasn't unusual for highly successful people. Giving up was. So for step 3, he reached out to his tiny handful of users and just asked for feedback. And step 4, he improved the idea. He iterated. Section 5. One conversation. This relentless iteration went on for months. Then, one late night in a mostly dark office, a company executive who'd stayed late to work caught Lucas on his break, just furiously scribbling in his little notebook. The executive walked over and asked Lucas what he was working on. Now, Lucas hesitated. He felt pretty out of place, obviously, but he eventually explained his project. And you know what? The executive didn't laugh. He didn't brush him off as just the night staff. Instead, he actually listened. And then he looked at Lucas and said, "You notice details most people ignore. That's a rare skill." Just think about how powerful that is. Instead of dismissing him, that executive gave Lucas the single most priceless gift you can give any budding innovator: absolute validation and the confidence to keep going. Section 6. The breakthrough. Fueled by that newfound confidence, Lucas kept pushing. A few months later, he released a newly improved version of his project. And this time, it hit a nerve. People actually started sharing it. Reviews started popping up. Slowly but surely, the project began to see steady, undeniable growth. And it wasn't because his first idea was some stroke of flawless genius. It was because he proved that making mistakes actually makes your ideas stronger, as long as you learn from them. Now, fast forward a few years, and guess what? He returns to that exact same corporate building. Only now, he is no longer the janitor emptying the trash bins. He is the guest speaker, invited back to stand in front of the employees of that very company to share his remarkable story of entrepreneurship. During his presentation, somebody in the audience raised their hand and asked him what the single moment was that changed his life. Lucas just smiled and told them, it wasn't finding a great idea. It was deciding to become a student of everyday life. He looked out at that room full of corporate workers and explained that opportunity is quite literally everywhere, but most of us are just rushing around so fast we walk right past it. Section 7. The ultimate lesson. So we've traced Lucas's crazy path from the night shift all the way to the speaker's podium. But what does this actually mean for you and me? It means that curiosity beats talent when it is practiced consistently. Success absolutely does not require you to be the smartest person in the room with some off-the-charts IQ. Observation is what creates your opportunities. Continuous learning is what builds your confidence, and relentless persistence is what actually creates your results. Lucas proved without a shadow of a doubt that humble beginnings, even emptying the trash in the middle of the night, never ever limit an extraordinary future. The world around you right now is just packed full of ideas, lessons, and hidden possibilities. The question isn't whether opportunity exists in your life today. The real question is, are you paying attention? It's time to stop waiting for that big break to knock loudly on your front door. Start carrying your own notebook. Start looking at those tiny, annoying frictions in your everyday life and start building. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning, keep observing, and I'll catch you next time.